My name is Darcy, and I was chosen to be a Sabbatical Beauty Scholarship recipient for this year. And my project was called Beauty in Action / Beauty in Action. So the difference between looking at the beauty industry with its passive effect on society versus an active effect on society. And what I want to look at, what I am looking at this summer, is this distinction between the beauty industry and the ways that it shapes the world around us, and we have that ability to do it consciously and make decisions about how we want the world to reflect our values or the things that we think matter, versus just passively going through and not really thinking about that. And then what that means is, if we're not thinking about it, sorry, I can hear my cat sneaking up. I can't see her yet, but I know she's stalking me. So if you see a blur of white, and I swear, that's Nido. I can hear her waiting to pounce. I just can't see her, so she's being an effective jungle cat. So apologies in advance for when she interrupts again. So the thing is that when you're a consumer, no matter where you're at, everything that you do ends up affecting the world around you. Everything that you do is essentially a statement of values. The problem is we don't think about that. We tend to just follow our buyer's instinct and buy what we're in the mood for. So I have a Coke here, not a brand placement, but I do have a beverage here because I was in the mood for a cola, and this is the one that I was in the mood for. And so I just conveniently grabbed it, bought it, no real effort, gave them my money, got my services. Supply and demand at its best. But when I teach business ethics, what I end up having to do is telling students that as consumers or as future business people, there's a lot of values packed into that. What ultimately is being said is that I like the convenience and the taste more than the fact that this business contributes a lot to, the soda industry in general contributes a lot to waste. There's a lot of waste of water. It's not great for the water table. If you're familiar with what's going on in Michigan, like I am, we've had a really big issue with the bottled water industry trying to take water from our water tables, while Flint, Michigan still doesn't have good drinking water. Here she is. Don't help. Sorry, she's super interested in what's going on here. Say hi. No. Can you say hi? Come here. Nope. She's being a true cat and not helping. So that's one of the things that we have to think about with the businesses, is that there is actually a value statement in all of our purchases. Oh yeah, I see I have some Coke fans, and you guys are anticipating Nido's inevitable help, so I'm glad you're good sports about it. So that's kind of where the project basis is, this idea that as consumers, the things that we do end up having sort of broad effects. They can shape us as individuals. It says to me that I care more about Coke than other environmental concerns. Or my usual favorite is Mountain Dew. And what I have been using as a background is this book called Defining Moments by a professor named Joseph Badaracco. And what Badaracco is talking about is the way that managers specifically, but people who are involved in business, are shaping the world around them with their decisions. And the point is that it's all of our decisions. It's not just these single solitary moments in a vacuum that shape us how we're going to end up, but it's the culmination of all the things that we do. And this comes from Aristotelian ideas as well. Aristotle said that we are the results of our actions, we are the result of our habits. To be a good person, you have to identify what a good person would do and then just consistently do it. And if you want to know whether or not you're a good person, look at your actions and see what you're doing. And so Joseph Badaracco is building off of that same idea, but connecting it to the business idea, that all of our actions reveal what we prioritized, They can test us between conflicting priorities. So for me, environmental concerns versus the delicious taste of Coke on a summer day, you see which one won out. What relates to us, that's just sort of like the background. What relates to us is the way that those decisions shape us. Our investment in values, our investment in preferences, our investment in things or people, they end up shaping us as individuals. They can shape the organization. Companies will not provide the, hi Courtney, companies will not provide the, hi Courtney. That's the joy of Facebook Lives, just that seamless transition from one topic to the next. But companies aren't going to provide services or supplies unless we demand them. And that's something we have to think about too, that things becoming available are available based on what we're as consumers demanding. And there also is this social impact that my buying a Coke affects me as a person, it affects my health, it affects my purchasing examples, it affects the organization. So Coca-Cola Company can adjust their product supply and demand based on people like me, but it also is going to have a ripple effect in the world around us. And this is just general business, it's just an intro, a quick cursor to business in general. But what applies to us is how this works in the beauty industry. What it actually means to invest in the beauty industry. And as a recap for some of you, what's really difficult for me is the fact that the beauty industry in general is not really kind to women. As a general industry, it is founded on the idea of teaching women that they are less than, and that in order to become better, to become the best version of themselves, or to meet these expectations, what they need to do is fill in this product. And oftentimes these products have unrealistic expectations, they have unrealistic or morally problematic standards about beauty, and they're really founded on this idea of knocking women down to get their money by convincing them that they are down there and the only way out is through their company. And this is something that made me really hesitant to be involved in beauty in general. It made me for a while really hesitant to focus on makeup. I felt like if I was using makeup, I was buying into this problematic standard of beauty. It made me really hesitant to go into skincare because a lot of skincare lines are like artificially and problematically priced. They're built on this idea of selling unrealistic ideals and getting people to buy into them. Or I won't name names, but there are companies that are still sort of like pyramid scheming, where they're buying into this idea of women's vulnerabilities and convincing each other to buy in as sellers and then pass that on to other people. So we all have that friend who's like, buy this product, let's call it like D&D, because that's my initials, and that way I'm not like, buy D&D. You look like a wreck, and if you don't want to look like a wreck, D&D will help you. The Darcy Doll difference, it will change you. And it's really invidious in the sense that it's a product that if you actually look at the ingredients, a lot of these companies have really high fillers, they're with dyes, they're artificially made to look consistent, but they're not really effective. They might have an immediate effect, but it's not one that has longevity, which means that consumers keep going back in and buying. They buy the next thing. And that put me in a pickle. I want to take care of myself. A lot of us do. I'm an ethicist by trade, so I want to do things well. But also, if you're new, you don't know this, I am unbelievably lazy. I am the laziest person you will probably ever meet. I look like I'm wearing clothes today, but I'm wearing pajamas. It's just a t-shirt. I go for comfort, I go for simplicity. I'm lazy. And this is a really difficult thing for all of us. A lot of us want to do better. We want to be better. We want to take care of ourselves. But we don't want to fall into that trap of unethical behavior. Don't help me. Madawan, just stay down. Sorry, she so wants to help. and she's getting so much trouble. She's getting called by, like, the middle name got pulled out. Lately I've been calling her 901 Kenobi. So, yeah, middle name got pulled out. So, train of thought. Here's our problem. We want to become... Yeah, Gretchen asked if my wearing comfy clothes is lazy or just smart. I like to work smart, not hard, so I agree. I am clothed, I am comfortable, I am able to do my jobs, and so this is just perfect. But it does create sort of this conundrum in general, the wanting to be a good person, to wanting to, like, invest in ourselves, but as women, that often means investing in the beauty industry. And the beauty industry is not always our friend. So it's a real difficult conundrum here. And what it boiled down to for me was trying to find a way that we can invest in things that actually support the action that we believe in and are encouraging us to be our best selves. And Marissa, our brand ambassador, shared a snapshot the other day, I think it was yesterday, that said that what we need to be focusing on is beauty, and we need to get rid of the idea that beauty requires perfection. That's sort of like paraphrasing it. She said it much better than I could, paraphrase. But that's one of the things we want to be looking for. Is somebody trying to sell us an unrealistic expectation of perfection? Or are we looking at a company or a group or a community that's trying to sell us us? So Gretchen's saying that her beauty industry is Sabbatical Beauty, All of Us, and Adeline. And I think that's sort of where we're at. And that's sort of the direction I'm going into with this, mini lecture of business ethics, that at a certain point you just want to look for something that tells you to invest in you, that doesn't have expectations of perfections, they don't promise perfection, that they have a very clear value statement. If you have to look for a value statement, it means they probably don't have much of one, or if they have one, they're not really committed to it. One of the things that drew me personally to Sabbatical Beauty is that Adeline was very forthright with what she stood for and said, here are my values, here's what I stand for. I stand for the betterment of the individuals, I stand for the betterment of society, I take a very strong political stance, I support the people who are disenfranchised, and if you do not like that, there are other businesses that are perfect for you. And I will admit, if you're not new, you know this. If you are new, you will learn this now. I'm not good at lying. I'm really big on, like, honesty, almost to a fault. And so when I first saw a business that said, here's my value, and it was in the beauty industry, I was skeptical. I was like, prove it. I get a little bit snarky. I was just like, prove it. You say you care about these groups, you say you care about these things, but let's be honest, your skincare line, prove it. And I am happy to say that my cynicism was disproven. A company like Sabbatical Beauty has consistently backed up their values. And that goes back to this Defining Moments book with Joseph Badaracco, that there's a difference between what we say we value and what we actually demonstrate that we value. So first step, look at a company, just see if they have a value statement, a mission statement, and see if it aligns with what you think is important. Second, look and see if that company is actually living up to it. A company like Sabbatical Beauty says it cares about the disenfranchised. It cares about building women up. It cares about helping you feel good about yourself in a way that builds off of what you already see as your strengths, instead of telling you you have weaknesses that you have to fix. And Poon mentioned that the investment of the conventional beauty industry often is not for the benefit of ourselves. It's mostly only fattens the pockets of those big companies. And that's exactly what I think we need to be looking out for. It's exactly what makes me hesitant to, engage in the beauty industry. But finding something like Sabbatical Beauty that does the opposite of that, that has clearly identified their values that I support, and their values that they have lived up to, and they consistently are finding ways to support, gives me hope, and it's what we can do to make our lives better, to shape ourselves, to shape the industry, to shape the society around us. That's kind of it in a nutshell. It's what it requires. Are your actions lining up with the things that you say you value? If yes, great, keep doing it. If not, reassess. Is it the values that need to change, or is it your behaviors that need to change? In my case, I went through this phase where I tried to say I cared about my health, but then would catch myself drinking Mountain Dew and Coke. Coke is my cola of choice. Mountain Dew is just my general soda of choice. And so I had to have a talk with myself and say, do I actually care about my health, or am I just going for like the flavor? And I decided that for me at that time in my life, this time in my life, health wasn't the priority that I said it was, so I had to change that. And that's kind of what my next bit of my blog, my project is acknowledging that when we invest in anything, whenever we spend money, we are making a statement about what we value. And it's not my job to tell you what you should value, but I do want to tell you to ask yourself, are my dollars being spent in a way that aligns with what I think is good? And if not, am I okay with the reasons why they're not? I do things every day that are not consistent with my ideals, but in that conflict, I'm okay with it. For whatever reason, like, I accept it. But if we look at something like the beauty industry and say that it is problematic, like Food mentioned, parkour, she just rearranged some furniture for me, sorry. Do we just want to make people who don't care about us wealthy? Or do we want to use our money basically to vote, to tell industries this is what we're demanding? We are asking and demanding of the industry to value us as we are, not just our money. And Foon says she agrees with me, which is awesome. I'm automatically like feeling good. I have at least one person who thinks I'm not wrong. And Foon says she agrees with me totally. Intention and values start everything. It's the blueprint and DNA that holds everything together. To me, someone with clear, well-meaning intentions and motivations is the one I will wholeheartedly support. And I couldn't have said that better. That's why I keep putting my lazy mug out there. Oh, Lynn says thank you, you're welcome. That's why I take pictures of myself at my best and my worst. When I'm having a good day or a bad day, I share it, because this community is something I think is worth investing in. And I'm focusing specifically on SB right now because this is a community I'm looking at. This can extend to anything, but y'all are here for Sabbatical Beauty. Y'all are here for like the beauty industry component. There are obviously other companies that exist that might align with the things that you value, but this is the appropriate format for me to talk about this one specific example. So I don't want to say that this is only applicable to one business, but it's the one that we're all bound by. And it's also a really effective example. Sabbatical Beauty is a good example of something that looks at quality of the products, quality of the community, investing and identifying what their values are, investing and identifying in what they think is ideal about their clients and how they can take care of them. And because if you enter my sphere of life, you become potential lecture material for me. This is something that I've used in my classes before as an example of somebody who can give consumers something good, who can identify values that they think are important, who can live up to it, and also not have to go like broke or bankrupt for it. Like, that's a thing that we never like to talk about. Marissa mentioned in another live that we don't like to talk about money, but it is a business. And so for those of you that are thinking about becoming entrepreneurs, I guess this is a little like nudge for you to make your way, find it or make it. If you want to have a company and you see that there's this deficit of companies that are upholding the values that you think are important, find a way to make that happen. And find a way to do it in a way that you can still survive. We don't want you to become destitute for the sake of your values. But there can be that harmonious balance. It is possible. Companies are doing it every day. And I've said this before, I will say it again. I get really, what's the word? I'm just gonna be honest, I get really pissy when I keep seeing these articles that are like, millennials are killing everything. They're killing the fast food industry, they're killing this, they're killing marriage, they're killing reproduction. There's always this allegation that our current time is killing these industries and they're doing something bad by saying that, or by doing that. And I always just want to come back and be like, that is not what's happening. Little clap back, like, that's not what's going on. You are not meeting their demands, you are not meeting their values, you are not meeting what they are asking for, and they're asking for more. So what we need to do is look at those voices and say, are the community, are consumers asking for something that we're not providing? And if so, can we and should we? And so that's kind of the business end of it. For those of you that are entrepreneurs, those of you that are thinking about branching out, is there that void, a deficit, where people aren't meeting that? Oh, and Dawn said there's so many good things coming from the millennials, and I agree. Yeah, and I've said this before, I used this example before, because I remember the article, millennials are killing Applebee's, and I'm like, yeah, but what are they bringing in its place? Better food, healthier options, more intimate time at home, like they're making their own food instead. So they're introducing a value set that is better for us. I usually try to be a little bit cautious with how I tell people what I think is good or bad, because I realize I have a position of influence and I try not to turn my students into clones. But if you could have like a good social experience with like good healthy food where the money goes towards the laborers, like the people who are growing food, instead of mass production where people are exploited and not fairly compensated, the former seems better to me than the latter. And so I don't think it's right to say millennials are killing things. I think it's better to say that they're reforming, they're revising, they have different standards that we're trying to acknowledge, that we should be trying to acknowledge. And I've been prattling on for a bit, keeping an eye on if there's any comments. I'm not sure if I mentioned anything useful, so if you have any questions, I appreciate them. Comments, follow-up, things I could clarify on at any point, type those in. There's a bit of a lag, but I'm checking. I don't want to do that teacher thing that I just did where I talked for 20 minutes without engaging, but someone's getting in trouble. That was Nino getting yelled at. He is full of it today. But that's kind of what, like as a recap, the general idea is that the beauty industry has the history of not valuing us, but we can ride this millennial wave and demand that they do. And what it boils down to is you identifying the places where you see something aligning with what you value and that you're backing that up. And to be honest, sometimes that is just simplicity, it's convenience. We've had chats about like cotton rounds. I never used little round cotton pads for my face until I started having a company I felt it was worth investing in, and that was Sabatical Beauty. The products work better with those. It was worth the investment. And for some of us, just those disposable ones are going to fit our life, fit our values, fit our needs the best. It just is. Others can invest in the time and effort and money in something that's more reusable. I, on a whim, decided to make my own because I had a towel that I didn't want to throw out. But I still admittedly go towards disposable sometimes because it's a question of, do I have time to do laundry today? Nope. Do I have the energy to do laundry today? Yet. No, do not. Oh, Dale says she loves my work. Thank you. I hope it's useful. I hope I'm not just, screaming in the wind. But I just want to implore you to be more conscious, or to continue to be conscious, because I think one of the things that is unique about the sabbatical beauty community is we realize that we are investing in a certain type of value. We're investing in something that looks at empowering women, empowering minorities, reframing the discourse around the beauty industry, and that investment is through our interaction. Those of you that are here today, those of you that are watching this on a replay, that's an investment. It's telling the community, I like this, give me more. Your comments, your interactions, those are all investments into. Investment doesn't just have to be money. It can be an investment in time, participation, recognition. And with Sabbatical Beauty, oh, thanks, Dale. Dale says my work is useful, so that makes me feel good. As an academic, you never really know whether your work actually has the merit you think it does. So I appreciate the feedback. So that investment, like I said, it can be an investment in time, it can be an investment in participation, recognition, it can be financial. But one of the reasons why a lot of us are willing to invest the time and the money in a company like Sabbatical Beauty is we're getting high quality products. There are values that we think are worth supporting. It's an industry that we think is supporting. Adeline has been very vocal with how her business model is set up. By vocal, I mean open. So we know we're employing fair wages, that the price of the products. Oh, Carol says she missed half because of a crisis, so I hope crisis is averted and you enjoy the replay. But we're investing in something. And if I could invest my money in a company like that versus my cat's getting in trouble. Oh, sorry if you heard that yell. She's sounds like she's rearranging furniture out in the living room too. So with Sabbatical Beauty, we are investing in all of those things I just mentioned before Nairo decided to help again, but we're also investing in something else. So I'm sitting in my bedroom, not the best lighting in the world, on an iPad, makeup free, sleep deprived, and this glow is all SB. I used to have a little milia right here and it's gone because of SB. My eye wrinkles used to be more dehydrated. Somebody, it might have been Dawn once, said that they look less thirsty now, and that's true. It's because SB. I'm investing in a product, I'm investing in myself, but it's not based on some sort of detrimental lie. It's not based on telling me that I'm not good enough. This community is, I'm trying to think of like a positive word, vehemently supportive of us. Own your flaws. Point out, I still have this bad boy that I need to work out. It's another Milia that's just there forever. But it's there. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not ashamed or afraid of going onto a video to show you a makeup-free face. Sleep deprived. My curly hair, which is not always my best look, because I know the community is just vehemently supportive. It's what we're investing in. And this is what we want to be looking out for. We want to look at what we can do to make things better. And I think I've been talking for a bit now. I just want to see if there's any more last minute questions, anything, before I officially sign off. I have, while I'm waiting to see if any questions come in, I'll just tell you, I have started posting some of the blog entries for this project. I'm not releasing them all at once, but I'm posting in bits. So after this, I'll pin it in the comments so that you can go there if you want to see the more official start. Some of it, like the first two that I think are up there, are going to be recaps for you. Just an introduction of where the project came from and this idea of business ethics in general. The next one that will be published will be a more written recap of this, where I actually talk about the way that our money talks, that when you're investing money, time, effort in something, you are essentially saying that you think those are things worth investing in. You're making a value claim. And we want to be conscious about that. Is that really consistent with what you think is the right thing to do? Or the life that you think is the good life, if I want to get Aristotelian. And I did submit a proposal to a magazine about a week and a half ago. Haven't heard back from them, so if I don't hear with them within a few days, I'll submit to another one. I'm trying not to submit to more than one at a time. So I'll keep you updated if there's more stuff, more developments on that front. But that's what I've been doing with the scholarship time, is looking at how we can parse out this idea of being ethical, investing our time in a way that we think is morally justifiable, but still take care of ourselves. It ends up being beauty as self-care instead of beauty abuse, I guess is a word that comes to mind. That instead of like abusing ourselves with our beauty care, build ourselves up, take care of ourselves, look at it as self-care. And I think that's something that we've accomplished in this community. I think it's something that SB has openly said that they care about, and they've demonstrated that they care about. They've been very intentional and conscious with how they shape their community in the world. Foon thanked me for highlighting this and how we shape the world, and being mindful and conscious as being important. And I think that's something that we just need a reminder of. And for many of you, you don't realize this, but you're doing good. So here's my thumbs up. Thank you for making things better. Thank you for fighting the good fight. I don't think I have anything else to add, really. I think this is the bulk of the update. And if you have any other questions, or if anything comes through after I log off, then I will answer it in the Facebook Live comments. I usually like to check those like right after and then follow up to see if anything happens. And at any point, you can always just reach out to me. I like having this dialogue. And if you're watching on the replay, thanks. You can always watch us live in our Facebook group. If you're watching on YouTube, same thing, thanks. And if you want to watch us live, join our Facebook group. And goodbye, my beauties. Have a nice night, and thank you so much for bearing with me. Take care.